My name is Christopher Brolly. I'm 30 years old. I've just finished my first year of studying philosophy in Paris after having done the first 2 years of Jesuit training, which is the novitiate. And then I made my first vows, and then I've just done my first year of philosophy studies. I'd spent 5 years teaching before I joined the society, and I was teaching in quite challenging circumstances. In what I think we'd call sort of quite marginalized communities, you know, so communities with brilliant people, so loving, so friendly, so passionate about life and had such a strong desire to have a good life. But there was a lot of difficulties, whether that be sort of chronic mass unemployment or other aspects of poverty, difficulty. And it was during this time of teaching where I really felt my faith deepen, seeing the joy and the love and the hope that came from giving myself fully to people in need. I'd always been brought up in a Catholic family, but I'd never really made a real self-appropriation of the faith, and I certainly, even in times where my practice had maybe fell away a little bit. One of my friends asked me, which school do you teach in? And I told him I was teaching in a school in a tough part of the city, but which wasn't a Catholic school. And he said, "Oh, so you're working in a non-faith school for reasons of faith. That's a very Jesuit thing to do." And I didn't know what he meant by that. I said, "Do you mean like Jesus?" And he said, no, the Jesuits. And I'd actually never heard of the society. I was 25 or 26 at the time. And so I went away. I think this guy, he himself was thinking about joining as well. And he gave me a couple of good books to read. And I went away and I read them. And I read the story of Ignatius of Loyola, one of the founders of the Jesuits. And the first line in the autobiography was something like the first 25 or 26 years of his life were dedicated to vain glory. And I think I'd be harsh on myself to say I was vain or vainglorious, but there were certain aspects of my life that were empty, where I was seeking for answers in things that the world told me would make me happy. The example of Ignatius, who kind of pressed pause on those things and started to really work out how he felt and what was giving him deeper joy and what was giving him real true fulfillment in his life. And so, you know, to cut a long story short, that began the process of me looking into the lives of Jesuits and seeing what this was all about. And it was only then that I realized, hang on a minute, this is a religious order, and this is potentially a call to the priesthood. I'd never thought of being a priest. I'd never ever considered that path. I never thought myself worthy of that, and it just never seemed to appeal. But then this aspect of being a Jesuit, of having this deeply sacramental and faith-based life, but equally a life that is in touch with the realities of other people and their difficulties. Those two things combined really drew me in, and I gave myself fully to the novitiate, and here I am, yeah.